The Thanksgiving gift that changed everything. My name is Claire Anderson. I'm 29 years old, and I still remember the exact moment I realized I didn't belong in my own family. Subscribe to my channel and let me know which city you are listening from, and let me start the story. It was Thanksgiving. The house was full like every year. Laughter in the kitchen, plates clinking, my mother barking orders like she was running a restaurant instead of a family dinner. But something was different this time. The living room table was lined with neatly wrapped boxes, one for every grandchild. My cousins were already excited. "Oh my God, this is so cool! Grandma always outdoes herself." I smiled politely, sitting at the edge of the couch, holding my cold coffee cup. Then I noticed it. One name was missing. Mine. I blinked slowly, thinking maybe I missed it, but no. Every single grandchild had a gift, except me. My aunt noticed my confusion and gave a tight smile. "Oh, Claire, you're not really a child anymore, sweetheart." A few cousins laughed quietly. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile. "Right, of course." Then my mother finally spoke from the kitchen doorway without even looking at me. "We didn't think you needed one this year." Silence. Not awkward silence, deliberate silence, like they were waiting for me to accept it. I nodded slowly. "Okay." And that was the moment they all relaxed, thinking I would just sit there and swallow it again like I always did. But they didn't know. I had already accepted something else, something they would regret far more than a gift. Because I didn't come empty-handed this Thanksgiving either. I reached into my purse, placed a small black envelope on the table, and said quietly, "I brought your gift too." My father frowned. "What is this?" I looked at every single one of them and smiled for the first time that night. "You should open it carefully." My uncle laughed. "What is this, Claire? A drama queen moment?" My mother finally turned around fully. "Stop being dramatic and sit down." But I didn't sit, because inside that envelope wasn't paper, it was truth. And once they read it, Thanksgiving would never be the same again. The envelope no one wanted to open. The room stayed quiet after I placed the black envelope on the table. Then my cousin Jake laughed. "Is this supposed to be some kind of joke, Claire?" No one moved to open it, so I did, slowly. I slid it closer to my father first. Since I didn't get a gift, I figured I'd bring something everyone can share. My mother's eyes narrowed. "Claire, stop this nonsense." But I was already opening the seal. Inside was a stack of documents. Not one, not two, dozens. My father finally leaned forward, annoyed. "What is this?" I pushed the papers toward him. Bank statements, transfer records, emails, all printed. My uncle scoffed. "I don't care about your office drama." But then my father's expression changed the moment he saw the first page. His hand slowed, his eyes narrowed, and then he stopped breathing for half a second. My mother noticed immediately. "What is it?" she demanded. He didn't answer. He flipped another page, then another. The laughter in the room faded piece by piece until there was nothing left, because whatever he was reading was real. Jake leaned over his shoulder, and his face dropped instantly. "No way." My mother snatched the papers. "Let me see that." But as she read, her hands started shaking, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in her eyes. She looked up at me sharply. "What did you do?" I didn't blink. "I didn't do anything." Then I paused. "I just found what you already did." The room went dead silent, because suddenly they realized this wasn't a random envelope. This was exposure. My father slammed the table. "Where did you get this?" I finally stepped closer. "My gift wasn't for the grandchildren this year," I said quietly. "It was for everyone who thought I was too ignored to matter." My uncle stood up fast. "This is illegal. This is—" "No," I interrupted. "This is documented." My mother's voice dropped. "Claire, what exactly are you threatening us with?" I looked her straight in the eyes and answered calmly, "Nothing." Then I pointed at the papers. "This is already done." A chair scraped loudly as someone stood up. Panic started spreading, because the truth wasn't just in the room anymore. It was already outside the room. And that's when my phone buzzed once. A single notification. Email sent. My father grabbed his phone immediately. His face turned pale, because whatever was in those documents was no longer private. It had already been delivered to someone who could end everything. And I finally sat down for the first time that evening, while my family realized they had just opened a gift they could never return. The family starts falling apart. The moment my father put his phone down, I knew it had started. Not anger, not arguments, collapse. One by one, phones at the table began ringing. My uncle's first, then my aunt's, then my mother's. Everyone froze, staring at their screens like they were suddenly burning hot. Jake swallowed hard. "What's happening?" No one answered him, because they already knew. My mother slowly stepped away from the table, answering her call with shaking fingers. "Yes? Hello?" A pause. Her face changed instantly. "What do you mean, frozen accounts?" That sentence dropped like a bomb. My father snapped his head toward her. "What did they say?" But she didn't answer. She just kept listening, her expression getting paler by the second. Then my father's phone rang again. He answered immediately, his voice sharp. "This is Mr. Anderson." Silence on the line. Then his entire posture changed, like someone had pulled the ground out from under him. "No, that's not possible." My chest tightened, but I stayed still, because this wasn't surprise for me. This was confirmation. My father hung up slowly. His eyes didn't look at me. They looked through me. "What did you do?" he whispered again. But this time his voice wasn't angry. It was afraid. My mother turned back toward the table. Her voice cracked. "Claire, all corporate accounts are under investigation." A chair fell behind her as my aunt stood up abruptly. "You're lying! This is family money!" My father slammed his fist down. "Enough!" But no one listened anymore, because the room wasn't a family dinner anymore. It was a crime scene. And I was still sitting calmly in the middle of it. Jake backed away from the table slowly. You actually reported it?" I finally looked at him. "No." Then I leaned back slightly. I let the system do what it was already going to do. That's when my mother walked toward me. For the first time, she looked small, not powerful, not in control. Just a mother trying to understand how her daughter became the end of her world. "Why are you doing this to us?" she whispered. I stared at her for a long moment, then answered quietly, "Because you didn't give me a gift." I paused. "You gave me a reminder." My father stepped forward again, voice shaking. "This is fixable. We can fix this. Claire, please." I stood up slowly, and that's when the truth finally landed in the room. I didn't come here for fixing. I picked up my coat. My chair scraped softly as I turned toward the door. Behind me, chaos started again. Phones ringing louder, people arguing, someone crying. But I didn't turn back, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one being left out at Thanksgiving. They were. And as I stepped outside into the cold night air, I realized something simple. The most dangerous gift is the one no one sees coming until it's already opened. The gift they could never return. The cold air outside hit my face like silence after a storm. Behind me, the house was no longer a Thanksgiving home. It was chaos, shouting, footsteps, broken voices trying to hold together something that was already gone. But I didn't rush away. I stood there for a moment, listening. Not because I wanted to hear them suffer, but because I finally understood something important. For years, I had been sitting at that table waiting to be seen, waiting to be chosen, waiting to matter. And tonight, I was finally the center of the story. My phone buzzed again. One message, from my mother. "Claire, please come back inside. We can talk about this." I stared at it for a long moment, then turned my phone face down. Because there was nothing left to discuss. The truth had already spoken. Inside the house, my father's voice suddenly cut through the noise. This is still our family. But it didn't sound powerful anymore. It sounded desperate, like someone trying to hold water in their hands. Jake ran out onto the porch behind me. Claire, wait! I turned slightly. His face was pale. What you did? This is going to destroy everything. I looked at him calmly. No. I shook my head once. This exposed what was already broken. He opened his mouth, but no words came out, because deep down, he knew I was right. From inside, my aunt's voice cracked through the door. She ruined us! But I didn't feel anything. Not guilt, not regret, just clarity. My mother stepped outside slowly behind Jake, her voice softer now. Sweetheart, we're your family. I looked at her for a long moment, and for the first time, I didn't feel like a daughter asking for love. I felt like someone closing a door that should have been shut years ago. You were my family, I said quietly. A pause. Until you decided I wasn't worth a gift at the same table where you gave everyone else one. Her eyes filled instantly, but I didn't stay to watch it fall. I turned away and started walking down the driveway. Behind me, I could hear her call my name again. Claire! But I didn't stop, because this wasn't revenge anymore. This was departure. And sometimes, the most powerful ending is not destruction. It's choosing not to come back. As I reached the end of the street, I looked once at the glowing house behind me, a place that once defined me, now just a memory, burning quietly in the distance. My phone buzzed one last time. No message, just silence. And for the first time in my life, Thanksgiving didn't feel like something I survived. It felt like something I finally escaped.